Good evening, everybody, and I hope everybody is well. Bit of a disappointment on Saturday, but we will bounce back tomorrow, I am positive. So I'm going to bring Vic straight on, and we will do SAS news and such like. Good evening, Mr. Morgan.
Hello to you, Chris. How are you this evening? You okay?
I'm good. You okay?
Yeah,
You
I'm
okay?
still struggling with the what's it, but yeah, I'll get over it. The man flu or whatever it is I've got. I'll get over it eventually.
Okay. So we just have to congratulate the women's team. They won 9-0 at Ascot yesterday. They're through to the final of the County Cup, which is brilliant. And also the Academy won on Saturday, 5-2 at Cheltenham. So good luck to them. They don't seem to have many games at the moment. So to come and win 5-2 away, it's fantastic. So have we got any SAS news?
We have. Tomorrow, of course, we're at Barnet. Now, if you are travelling on SAS, they're sold out. There are no more spaces available. So if you are travelling, they leave West Swindon at 3:30 and the county ground, the Nigel Eady County Ground, at 4 o'clock. That's for Barnet. Now, they have a few spaces available in the third coach for Crawley. That's on Saturday, March the 7th. That departs West Swindon at 10 o'clock. The Nigel Eady County Ground at 10:30. Members £23, non-members £25. It seems strange to be talking about March already, but that's Crawley on Saturday, March the 7th, which the run into the end of the season is well and truly here, I think it's fair to say.
It is. Yeah, that follows the two Saturday home games at 12:30, doesn't it? So the Crewe on Saturday and Bristol Rovers the following Saturday. So, and the women have got a game on Wednesday night at the County Ground. I think it's a 7 o'clock kickoff, but I will check that while we're on air and then I'll confirm that later. So if you are missing your midweek games at the County Ground, please come along on Wednesday and support the girls. Okay, so I will bring. I didn't even tell who our guest was today, did I? I'm very sorry about that. So we're very privileged to have Eddie Murray with us today, and I'm going to bring him on straight away, and I will see you later. Hi, Eddie.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
I'm good. Right, if anybody's got any questions I'd like to leave, please leave them in the comments, and as usual, we'll get through as many as we can. See you all later.
Thanks very much indeed, Chris. Eddie, great to see you again. It's been a long time since I spoke to you. I think the last time I spoke to you, you just made your debut for the town, and you were very thrilled. Yeah, that was a long time ago. How did it all? It's very good to have you on, and thank you very much for joining us this evening. How did it all start for you? You're a local boy, got into the Swindon Youth setup. How did that all start?
Thanks for having me on, Vic. It's lovely to see you again. It's been a long time. So yeah, when did I start? So I actually started back in where I grew up in Lowestoft in Suffolk. So I started with a local football team there, and then I was scouted and got onto Norwich City's books. So I started with them at about 11. I think 12 I went to their Centre of Excellence, and then my old man got a job at the Royal Military College of Science in Shrivenham, and so we had to move and moved to Highworth, and basically transferred from the Norwich City Academy to the Swindon Academy, the Centre of Excellence, and then kind of just went through the ranks there, Vic, to be honest with you. Kind of sort of started to play youth team football and then signed apprentice, and it kind of went from there. So I would say Swindon, I arrived in Highworth when I was 13. So yeah, I suppose I consider myself. I grew up in Highworth and grew up around Swindon. Love the place, and I love the time I did have at Swindon as well. So yeah, that's how I came to Swindon anyway.
Who was running what was the Centre of Excellence in those days? Slightly different these days, of course, with academies and all that kind of thing. How different was it? Because there were certain rules years ago, weren't there? Where, you couldn't sign anybody till they were 14. They were associate schoolboys. All that's changed now. But who was instrumental in bringing you to the town and getting you into the Centre of Excellence?
So it was John Trollope of all people. Yeah, it was John that it was letters between the club essentially. So they had to get permission for me to train at Swindon because I was still contracted under Norwich City. So I didn't want to travel back to Norwich. I just moved to a new school, making new friends, etc., etc. I didn't want to have to go back playing for the Norwich Juniors and travelling backwards and forwards to Suffolk and what have you. So they said, yeah, okay, we'll come to an agreement, play at Swindon Town, do your training at Swindon Town, stay on these forms that I had signed from a young age. And then I think that basically once John got me in, and I think it was a case of, you prove your worth, don't you? You show what you've got. And I think that when I started to train, he saw something in me that was worth keeping at Swindon. So he said, right, stay. So John actually was instrumental in keeping me. He wasn't an arm around the kind of shoulder kind of guy, let's be honest about it. But if he wanted you, you'd know it. And if he didn't want you, you know it. And he certainly didn't, he certainly wanted me around, and I felt that, and that was good enough for me. So I kind of stuck then at Swindon and at the Centre of Excellence. And then I started to, play up. I was always a year younger. So when I made my youth team debut, I was 15. You know what I mean? I hadn't signed those kinds of forms yet. And then it kind of worked that way, really. But tough, Vic. It was tough love back then, 100%. Yeah, looking back, yeah, it was. But yeah, it made you, or it would break you. I would probably say, from a lot of us that went through that system.
I mean, John Trollope. Whenever you talk to somebody about John Trollope, there's never a bad word about him because he's a straight up sort of guy, still a legend, obviously, at the town, goes to every home game, player, manager, youth team manager, done a lot, really, scout. How was he with you?
John, John treated me all right, to be fair. He was straight. Everybody was, you worked hard, you trained hard, you got a bit of respect from him. If you didn't, then you just wouldn't be there anymore. It was as simple as that, really. There wasn't really any sort of grey area with John. It was a bit challenging for me at the time as well because I lived in Highworth. He lived in Highworth.
Yeah.
And he lived just up the road from where I lived. And so I had to, when I was, I think I must have been, when I just sort of signed schoolboy forms, I was getting a lift in with him. In the morning. Oh yeah, believe me, the stick I got, it was very, very difficult. But I remember him driving me in every morning because I didn't drive. I didn't have a car or anything. I didn't pass my test or anything like that. So he was taking me in and out. Hard. He was a hard taskmaster. He was fair. He's an absolute legend at the club. I've got no problem with John Trollope. I've got a lot of respect for the man. He was hard though. I can't begin to tell you. It was tough love. You had to grow up quick. And he got you ready for football. He got you ready to transition to the first team and to the playing with older players. Do you know what I mean? When you were a younger player, you got different ways of doing things and things in your head. But he taught you how to get ready for that that transition, because I suppose it's a bit different to now. I've not been in football for a long time, but at 17, when you interviewed me, when I made my debut, I was 17. I was a kid, and I was in the changing room dressing with the likes of Ross McLaren and Fitzroy Simpson and Colin Calderwood and legends of Swindon Town kind of thing. And I was a kid mentally as well as physically, still sort of growing. So I suppose it had to be different. But yeah, that's kind of, he was good to me, Vic.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because nowadays, there's no sort of football combination in the middle, which a lot of players were able to play, weren't they? You play for the youth team, you get a chance in the football combination, and that would kind of prepare you to play for men's football. But now they have to come straight out of the academy, go out on loan somewhere in the, Leagues 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And that's a big jump from the academy to that.
Yeah, absolutely, Vic. I think that from my humble opinion, from what I see when I'm watching the game, when I see some of these youngsters that are teenagers now breaking into the first team into the Premier League, I mean, I was never anywhere near that, and they're delivering at that level. They're really gifted footballers, right? Let's not get it wrong. But that transition, I don't care what anybody says. I think I remember making my combination or reserves, the stiffs debut against Arsenal. Yeah, no, I remember it very, very well because I was 16, and it was Kevin Campbell was playing, David O'Leary was playing, um, Andy Cole. I mean, it was ridiculous, the quality. And I remember running into the back of Andy Cole and having a dead leg and being injured for about 3 weeks, because it was like I was 16
Yeah.
and I was a growing lad trying to get used to how it is. But if I'd advise any player, you need to, playing men's football is the sooner you can get to that, the better, because then you learn how to cope with things psychologically and mentally, as well as physically.
Yeah, a big jump. We're already getting comments coming in, which is lovely. This is from Glenn. He says he worked with you at Raychem. Did you work at Raychem?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Glenn.
Ian says top bloke worked for him via Go New Recruitment, says Ian.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Sean said, and this is something that we'll talk about a little later. Always remember that goal at Carlisle. We had a weekend in Blackpool. Got the train up there. From there, well worth the trip. We'll get to that goal at Carlisle.
Okay.
That must be a memory sort of stored away forever, I guess, that one there.
Yeah.
Now, I was looking through your record. I mean, the managers you played under at Swindon, Lou Macari, Ozzy Ardiles, Glenn Hoddle, John Gorman, and Steve McMahon. Now, boy, what a galaxy of talent that was. But they're all different. I guess they were all different.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh yeah, I was very, very lucky. I was very lucky. I mean, to have arrived. I remember my dad moved before we moved to Swindon. He went to watch a Swindon game, and he saw Dave Bamber and Chalky White and Ramsey and Kamara, and he came back to where we were living. He said, "Oh, you want to see them Swindon players? They're amazing. They're, real fighters." And I remember then coming to Swindon and watching, and repeat that, Vic, because I just got mixed up on that one. Just go back to that question again.
Just going about the Macari, Ardiles, Hoddle, Gorman, and McMahon. All different managers. But how was it under them?
So Lou Macari, I didn't get to have any direct real contact with. He came, I was still only 15, 16, and he was watching reserve games. He would be the kind of guy that would he would always come to the youth games, and he would stand by the side of the pitch. And I don't know, at one game, I think I came off and he went, well played, kid, or well done, son, or something like that. That was enough. Oh, I've done all right here. Everything's good. If the gaffer said that, that's fine. Ozzy Ardiles, he was brilliant for me because we had so we ran, and you must have heard this so many times. All we did was run. We never saw a football. That was how Lou Macari did it. It's how John Trollope did it. And as youth team players, that's we hardly got the ball out. It was all about fitness. It was all about running. And that's where obviously Lou Macari got all of his joy from. Ozzy turned up, and I was still only in the youth team, and I so wish that I could have been a bit older to have got more time with him. But I don't know what it is, but he seemed to have he had a bit of a soft spot for me. Like he would ask me before games, I'd go and see. He'd get one of the lads to come and get me. I'd go and see him. He'd give me a £5. He'd be with Chip Bates. He'd say, "Eddie, go and get me 20 silk cut," and I'd go down the bottom turn right, and there was the little shop just on the road there, and I'd go in and get me 20 silk cut. And he would do little things like that with me that were different to some of the other players. And eventually he gave me my debut, which came out of nowhere because it was Nick Summerby, I think, and it was Oggy, Paul Hunt. They were like Adi Vivash, of course. I mean, they were like the players that were like above me, you know, to try and get in front of them. They were the top lads kind of thing. So I managed. He gave me my league debut at 17 against Oxford, which was amazing. And I loved Ozzy, I must admit. And he wasn't there for long. I didn't get much with him because I was still only a kid, and it was very much, you're a kid, you stay away from it. But yeah, I really I loved him. I thought he was great, and I knew that he liked me. And then he went, and then there was it Glenn, wasn't it?
Yes.
Came, yeah. So Glenn was Glenn was he was amazing, to be honest, and he was so young as well. I just remember, I can see him now. He's really weird. Yeah, he was such a young guy, and we were still all very kind of old-fashioned in the way we were training. Do you know what I mean? It was like, and he came in, and he was telling us to breathe in between doing stretches, and I kind of broken into the first team. I was in that first team squad, so I was reserve, so I'd get selected to be a sub every now and then, and you know, we'd train with the first team, that kind of thing. So I was getting involved in the pre-seasons and stuff, and seeing how he did it, went about his business, and you could tell that we were 80s, sort of 90s, like late 80s kind of football from that era. And Glenn came in, and it was he would get the ball down. It was all about he sort of carried on from what Ozzy did, and he was very aloof. He'd be aloof from the players. But I do remember very well one summer up at the Allied Dunbar. It was, you know, we'd have those lovely summers, and you'd be out there running and training and what have you. And I remember I was just doing some, I don't know, I was doing some keep uppers or something, and Glenn Hoddle literally just came over by himself and just sat down, just watched me doing some bits and pieces, and just chatted. And it was only for a short period of time, but it made such an impact on me because I'd never had that kind of, even with Ozzy, I was still far away from the squad, so I didn't have that kind of real one-to-one stuff. I was still a kid kind of thing, but he kind of sat down, and he was like, took an interest in what I was doing. You wouldn't expect that from any kind of gaffer, so to speak. And he was very forward thinking in his training methodologies, and the way he played football. And there was, I remember this. So I really loved him because he was an icon, and I watched him. I played with him, played next to him in reserve games, and in training, and in pre-season friendlies. And I've never seen a footballer kick a ball like that. I've never seen anyone strike a ball like the way he hits a ball. The vision, he could hit it anywhere. Wow, absolutely amazing talent, amazing footballer. But at one stage, I was a player that they love to hate, Vic. So every stage in your career, you're a player that's loves to be hated. You're not playing well, contracts coming up. I don't think I was right in my head. I was figuring out being a footballer and stuff like that. And I remember very well, I think it was Sean Close said to me, "Oh, Eddie, you're just in the firing line at the moment. You're one of the players that they love to hate. You need to get your head down and you need to sort it out." It was that kind of arm round the shoulder kind of, you know, get your head up thing. Not take you to one side and talk you through. It was just kind of that. And I thought, okay, something's not right. I'm doing something wrong. Either I'm not training hard enough, or I don't know what it is. Anyway, I don't know where my head was into that space. But we had a testimonial game, and I really wanted to do well. And but it was like coming up to my first proper contract. Yeah, under Glenn, and we had a testimonial. I can't remember where it was, and we went up, and it was Paul Bowden he was injured. So he'd been injured for the first team, but he was coming back from fitness. So he was involved in this testimonial. And I'll never forget, he sat with me all the way up to this game in the coach at night. It was a night game, one of those testimonials that you go, oh crap, I really could do without a night game. Oh God. And he spoke to me all the way, and he just said, look, kid, he said, you'll be fine. You need to get your head down. You need to concentrate. If this is what you want, blah, 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 blah. He said, but look, if you're playing left, because I always played left-sided centre-back, even though I'm not left-footed, and he was playing left-back. He said, look, I'll talk you through the game. He said, just listen to me. He said, concentrate. You'll be fine. I'll talk you through the game. And he did talk me through the game. And at the end of the game, Glenn Hoddle came in. And the first things he said, he walked through the door, and the first thing he said, he pointed over at me and said, if you carry on playing like that, son, you get yourself a contract. And so it was Paul Bowden that sorted me out and got my head straight. I'll never forget that. And I did. I got my head down and carried on. And he was true to his word. So he was good for me, Glenn, in terms of understanding that I had something. Because if he didn't fancy me, there's no way that I would have got a contract, and there's no way I'd have been given the opportunity. And then there was John Gorman. John was John. So he loved the older players, I think, with John. I love John. I think he was a cracking guy. He had a temper on him as well. I liked playing under John. We didn't get much chance because he had a lot of the older players in there, and it was obviously a challenge for him to do what he needed to do. But I did like John. I had a lot of respect for John, and he was a great number 2 to Glenn. And then there was Steve McMahon, who, funnily enough, played me the most, more than anybody else. Gave me my chance at Carlisle. Gave me my chance in the, we got to the semi-finals of the League Cup. We were that close to Wembley.
Yeah.
Whatever people say, he did give me that chance. Did I like the training? Did I like him? No. But he gave me my chance. So, I can't say any more than that, really. So all different styles. Steve McMahon, training was just so aggressive. I mean, it was, you'd be doing 5-a-sides on a Friday before a game on a Saturday, and people are putting their foot in. Do you know what I mean? It was it was that kind of intensity. That's what he wanted. I suppose he loved that kind of aggression and fear, and that way of playing. But yeah, what a legend, to be fair to him.
Won a championship. Won a championship.
And we won the championship 95, 96, wasn't it? Yeah. So I can't, not my cup of tea, but I would say I got respect for him, and he gave me the chance to score at Carlisle. He gave me the chance to play in the semi-finals of the League Cup, which I'll take to my grave with me. So I can never knock the man for that.
This is from Nick. He says, how did Glenn and Ozzy coach players who, and this is always an interesting one, because obviously, hey, Ozzy Ardiles has won a World Cup in '78. We all watched him on a grainy black and white TV, a master in midfield. Yeah. How do they coach players who didn't have the ability that they had? And I think the point that Nick's making, and it must be, they must have some sort of ability to be able to coach players, but they almost also get a bit frustrated at times that they can't do what they did. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. It's a really good question. And I think that, and I'm not an expert in this, but let me try and speak just from what I think, I suppose, and what I see. So if you take a player if you look at Glenn Hoddle and you look at the way he played football, so you take Swindon Town under Macari and you look at Ozzy and the way he played football, he was lucky. He had some really gifted footballers in there that could play football, right? Colin Calderwood, Paul Bowden, Steve Foley. I don't really remember too much, but there's some really, really talented footballers in there. So that transition wasn't like you were taking 11 players that couldn't pass from A to B and didn't have technical ability to then instill the football and around them. So I think where managers like Ozzy and Glenn Hoddle, to answer Nick's question, made a difference, if you look at players like Sean Taylor, he showed them how he wanted them to play the game. This is how we're playing the game. This is your role within the team. You do this because this is what you're really good at. Sean Taylor's never going to get the ball down, do 3 keepy up his, lob it over his head and play a 60-yard ping, but he's going to attack every single ball that comes into that box and do it better than anybody else in that team. And he, through the consistent training of getting the ball down, passing the ball, getting the ball down, passing the ball through training, then you just improve as a player, and you know what your role is as a player within that 11, within that team. So there's a there's a clip where John Moncur is doing when Granado says do it like this, do it like this. I remember that very, very well. I remember it very well. God used to do it all the time, and we all used to try. You just there's certain things you just can't, and John Moncur could kick the ball with both feet. I mean, he was one of the most talented midfielders I was lucky enough to play with. He was really gifted footballer, Monkey. Yet he couldn't do that. But then you look at the likes of Mickey Hazard, and you can never get the ball off of him. So they've got the ability, to get people on board and be part of that journey and buy in. And I think that's what Glenn and Ozzy had. They had that sort of aura and that kind of, trust me, try it, do it, I'll show you. And then you do it and you trust and you follow, just like that's a leader. That's what the leader does, leads by example. And you want to do well for that manager. That's how I felt anyway. I think that's what I saw.
Because I guess the role of a coach is to make people better, isn't it? I mean, that's the whole point of them, isn't it? That they take somebody who's maybe got limited ability, but they make them better and play better within their ability. I think that's fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that we have this is where I think that we are blessed with a certain amount of ability. Okay, we can get fitter, we can get stronger, we can get more agile, we can get more flexible, we can build our knowledge of the game up and the tactics. But what stops you from, for me personally, from growing and developing is the psychology of football, is the mindset, is the confidence. If a manager or a coach, like you've just said, can take a player, and it doesn't matter at any level. I've seen it with young kids when I've coached young kids that are never going to be professional footballers. You work with them, you show them the technique, and then you build their confidence, and you instill that confidence in them. And they trust you, and they trust what you're saying, and then they trust themselves, and then they really believe in themselves. That's when you take yourself to in my point of view, that's what the coach is there to do, is to psychologically get you the best, in the best place possible, by building your confidence. Because I can knock a ball 20 yards in training. Okay, we used to do crossing and shooting all the time. People like Nicky Summerby, he'd get on the ball, you'd pass it out to Nicky, and Buzz would whip it in, left, far post, near post, doesn't matter. The guy's got ability. He's blessed with the ability to whip a ball into the box. I couldn't. I was really poor at whipping the ball into the box, but I played left back and right back, as well as centre back. When I went out to that wing, I have a certain ability to put that ball in the box. If Andy Rowland was standing out there going, Eddie, that's shit, what are you doing? Get the ball in the box. Suddenly, if you say that a few more times and people are looking and I ping it wrong, and then you're on your case, my confidence starts to go a bit, and I'm starting to knock that ball too far. I'm starting to knock it. I'm just not doing it. But if the coach is looking at me going, okay, this kid needs just a little bit of, don't worry, son, that's good. Carry on doing what you're doing. You get over that little bit of fear and you rebuild your confidence, and suddenly you're putting the ball in. So is that improving my ability to cross the ball technically, or making me a better player? Or is it improving me in my head to have more belief and confidence in myself, to go, okay, well, I'm never going to be Buzzer, but I can put a ball in the box. And the more I practice and the more I get my confidence and I feel good about myself, and the people that I look to from a player's point of view, to instill that and have got my back by giving me that confidence and going, don't worry, kid, that's good. Carry on doing what you're doing, giving me that kick when I need it, but doing it right. That's going to improve me as a player. And I've seen sorry.
Is that something you use in recruitment? We'll get onto recruitment a little later, but is that something? I mean, let's be honest. We've all been for job interviews, and we're all sat outside the office going, I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah. We've all done that. But is that something that you can, as somebody who's in recruitment, put that confidence in them before they go into a job?
That's a very good question, Vic. It's a very good question indeed, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. Funny enough, now that you mentioned it, and I think it's something that's missing in football. And it's a terrible shame that it is, because yes, you can, and I do it on a daily basis, and I do it on a daily basis with people that you would never think that would be lacking in confidence, from executives through to entry level roles, or young people looking for their first going for their first interview. And it's all about preparation, and it's all about coaching, and it's all about understanding the process. And then once you understand the process, it's about instilling the confidence in who you are, what skills you've got, what transferable skills you have. And not everybody can tell you that, and so coaching in what I do plays a huge part in allowing the individual to give the best version of themselves. Because companies miss out on really good people because maybe they've not prepped well, or they haven't had a good process in terms of the recruitment process. So yeah, I think it's really important. And if I go back to, okay, Vic, so if I go back to when I've been playing football from the age of 9, that's all I've ever known. I was always going to be a footballer. Mum and dad could tell me whatever. My teachers could tell me, you've done this, you've done that, you'll never be a footballer. And I'd just go, yeah, whatever, I'm going to be a footballer. Simple as that. No one would ever convince me otherwise. And so at the age of 10, I play my football, I go to Norwich. I'm always the one that's getting picked. I'm never the one that's getting let go. I'm always the one that's going through to the next stage. I'm always the one that's getting offered. I'm going to be a footballer. And then I play football. I don't make it. For me, you need to play a season first team football every game, and then you made it. I didn't do that. So in my mind, with my peers, I don't think that I've made it. I contributed to Swindon success. I've made 1 or 2 things that will stick in people's memories. That's an achievement for me. That's great. But I think that when I left, all I'd done is football. And I remember Steve McMahon saying to me, right, that's it. I don't want you here anymore. Yeah, it's time for you to go. Go and find yourself another club, or pay you up. Off you go. So I said, yeah, because I'd fallen out of football, out of love with football. And I was thinking, well, what am I going to do in my life? I'm 23, thinking that I'm 33, and it's all finished. It's all gone. And I remember walking out of that club with my boots and everything, and I walked over to Burger King. A Burger King across the road.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sat down, had a burger, and I thought, I literally went, oh shit, what the hell am I going to do? What am I going to do? I haven't even got a CV. I haven't got a clue what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know who to speak to. Who's going to help me? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I've got a mortgage. I don't know what I'm going to do. I did not know. I had no idea. Ended up in a warehouse in Swindon, West Swindon, working in a warehouse. If I had somebody with 20 years experience of recruitment and talent acquisition, life experience, that had been a footballer or been a professional athlete, knew what it was to sacrifice and lived that kind of life, that came to me and said, okay, well, you've got a lot of options. You've got loads. First of all, what do you want to do? Where are you at in your life? Let's talk about those kinds of things first. And then look at all of these options that you do have. And then once you've considered these options, let's go about figuring out how that looks in terms of a career and what kind of salary you can earn. And that's where I think as there's a huge gap missing in football, especially in the lower leagues. And, forget the Premier League, forget that. I'm thinking about women's football, men's football, and League Two, League One, where these players are, they're working hard for a living, and they don't know what's going to happen next, and it could be injury, and it could be, all kinds of things that can be going wrong in their life psychologically. It can be anything. It could be the young academy players, and I think that there's a big gap, and that's something that should be there for them, because it can completely change a person's outlook on life. If I had somebody that came in and talked to me, maybe I might have changed the way I was thinking and decided football was the way forward and put my head down more, but I didn't have that guidance.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because I think football clubs nowadays, I mean, you've been through this as a younger player, there comes that moment, doesn't there, where there's some make it, some don't, and then those people who don't, traditionally in the past, as you said, figuratively go across to Burger King and think, what do I do next in my life? But
yeah,
I think football clubs are now trying to work hard on aftercare, because to me, it seems to me that to kick a young kiddie out who just wants to make it in football and then can't, they really have to be careful with mental health of those young people too, don't they?
Yeah, totally agree. And I think they have a duty of care. And I think that it's something that can be deployed within an organization. So take Swindon Town, for example, and it can be valuable in terms of their recruitment and attraction. When you think about my mum and dad, if my mum and dad had a choice of Swindon or Norwich, and Swindon said, well, look, we've got this in-house team, they will work with your son, they will look at careers throughout their career as a footballer, whether that's football, they're always thinking about other options, they're looking at education, they're looking at practical hands-on experience. You look at the likes of Swindon Town, and you've got some really real prominent entrepreneurial and businessmen that love the club, that would be really happy to give insight to young people, so they don't feel like they're just trapped in one way, or that's it and it's just football. And if you think maybe you've got other options, you might concentrate harder on becoming a footballer rather than thinking it's the end, because we're all different. So I think there's room for it, for sure. It's and I think that it could be, like you said, it's a duty of care, and the challenges young people are under, they're living through social media, and then you're getting dropped by a club. It must be really difficult. Like I said, it wasn't as bad for me when I was young. We didn't have anything like that. You get dropped, you didn't see anybody. So do you know what I mean? It was a phone and that was it, kind of thing. But yeah, I do agree.
Yeah, tough. And you always feel for the young the young kids who don't make it, because that's their dream and they want to obviously live out their dream, but not everybody can. Let's talk about the positives then. Some nice messages coming in. Adrian says, the Carlisle game, I was with Ian Ratcliffe, sat in a dugout near Carlisle management. Mervyn Day was the assistant. Dave says, Ian Ratcliffe, remember him well. Dave says, yeah, Edwin Murray, I went to school with him, says Dave. Dave Wright?
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah. Crikey, Dave Wright. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Send him my send him my love. Yeah, I remember Dave Wright. Yeah.
Well, you just did.
Big love to Dave Wright. Yeah.
Excellent. Ian says, happy days working under you at Go New Recruitment, Eddie. Could you have happy memories at Swindon Town Football Club in our golden era? It was a golden era, let's be honest. I mean, flipping heck. We went from Division 4 to the Premier League under some of the biggest names in football. I mean, I just remember the day Ozzy Ardiles turned up, taking over Lou Macari, and, we were all lined up to interview Ozzy Ardiles as he walked down the stairs. We thought, that's Ozzy Ardiles. What's he doing here? Crazy moments. Let's talk about moments then, highlights. Obviously, your debut for the town.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about, you think everybody's got to have a season or something, and I understand that totally. But for those of us who will never, ever experience that moment, when you're told you're going to make your league debut for a professional football club, what's that like?
Oh, Vic, it's the most amazing feeling ever. I swear, I can't. It's so difficult to explain. I don't think I've ever been so proud, apart from my kids, in my life, to represent, to come to a town, to love the town, to be part of the town, to play for the town, and then to be given your league debut. That's massive for me. That made my, and to play and to do it against Oxford United was even better. That was like the cherry on the icing on the cake. Like, so I was over the moon. And you know, once you made your league debut, it's like, that's it. No one can ever take your name out of the annals of that particular club's history. And I feel very proud to be part of such a big club, to be honest with you. So yeah, it was a great night. I remember it like it was yesterday. I really do. It was great. Steve Foster patted me on the back as I walked off. Remember Steve Foster with the old headband? That's how long ago that was. Yeah. Brilliant night.
Well, that's the word you used afterwards. I spoke to you afterwards. And I said, how was that? Brilliant. What was it like? Brilliant.
I swear to God, I can't begin. Because basically, it's like, once you do that, it's like, I remember we used to go to college. So you had the clever ones that did their HNDs and BTECs and whatever, like Wayne O'Sullivan, Sully. Remember Sully?
Yeah, he's in Australia now.
So Sully went off and did his HND and stuff. Me and I can't remember now. Me and the other lads, we went off and did our city and guilds, right? Because we didn't do too well at school. So we were going to Oxford College. Yeah. So I remember that it was Oxford United youth team lads that didn't get good GCSEs. Do you remember Chris Allen?
Yes.
Yeah. So Chris Allen made his debut I think the week before I made my debut. So it's not just you, it resonates around everybody around you. And it's like suddenly things change. Do you know what I mean? So it's special. It's really special, because to make your debut is like to say, it's like all that hard work of being a youth team player and all of that stuff and all of the commitment over all those years. Doesn't matter. No one can ever take that 20 minutes away from you, whatever it was. You know, very special. Very special.
Fantastic. And yeah, for those of us who'll never experience that, well, it must be an amazing experience. That's all I can say. I suppose we have to talk about that goal, don't we? Really? A little tap in from a couple of yards out.
Yeah.
Ball comes out, Scruffy in the penalty area, just tap it in.
No. Oh dear. Yeah. Yeah, that was that's a real funny one, that is. A Carlisle of all places is really odd. It's like my dad's family all from Carlisle. Right. That's really weird, for starters, that it's Carlisle. Of all places for it to be. And then I think there was another Murray on the pitch at the same time as well, which was odd. And then to score the winner against Carlisle, which is so interlinked with my dad's family, is another real strange thing. It was like very, 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 very odd for it to happen. But I tell you what, right, that was that whole season was a special season anyway. But I think for me that kind of like set the tone, really, for the season. Anything's possible. We can do anything, kind of thing. And yeah, I couldn't believe he even picked me to play up front. I don't know why he did that. Anyway, yeah, I'll never forget it. I think, yeah, Robbo. I remember Mark Robinson getting the ball. I remember looking at him and thinking he's just going to play that long, because I think it was Steve Finney, wasn't it? Was it Steve Finney? Because Wayne Allison, I think, was injured, and I think Peter, I can't remember. There's a few injuries anyway, and the ball goes in, and I think it drops, doesn't it? I think either the centre back heads it down or it drops, and I remember it bounce. I remember it just dropping, and I was thinking, I can't believe that's just dropped there. It's like, it couldn't have dropped any better. And I remember McMahon screaming. He was screaming, "Hold it up! Oh, hold it up! Or hold it up! Hold it up!" Do you know what I mean? Keep possession. And I remember, I do remember, I just said, "Bollocks." That's what I said. Excuse my French. I was like, "Bollocks." There's no way I'm holding that one up. I knew when it bounced. I knew. So I just give it a whack, and as soon as I hit it, I knew. You know, I just watched it. I went, oh, that's going right in that corner. I can see that going in now. And that for me that was beautiful. That was beautiful. Yeah, I loved it, and I meant it as well, which is unusual for a centre back.
Was it a bit of an out of body experience? Because did it take ages for the ball to go in the back of the net, or did it happen quickly?
I'll come back to you about out of body experiences. It happened. No, it was everything slowed down, Vic. So I remember the ball. I remember it bouncing there, and it bounced so perfect. And I'm hitting that, and that's going in. You know, I think I actually said that I'm hitting that, that's going in. And as soon as I went to strike it, everything slowed down, and I hit it, and it was sweet. You know, I felt it. It was sweet, and I just watched it go all the way into the back of the net, and it was. When they talk about scoring goals, you've got to do it. It's so hard to explain, Vic. It really is, especially when you don't score goals regular. I've scored a lot of own goals, but I've not scored a proper league goal or a winner. So it's a feeling completely different. So hard to sum it up. It's so hard to wrap it up, but it's euphoric. It's a feeling of oof, and for it to be the winner as well, amazing. Yeah,
fantastic.
Amazing feeling.
I'll just
especially for that long trek home.
Yeah,
and for the fans, because you're talking about 4 hours or something. Stu, it was a long old drive home.
It's a long way to Carlisle. Sean says we were stood near enough in line to where the ball smashed it into the net. So people remember that goal. You know, that's another thing, isn't it? People remember that goal. I mean, of all the hundreds and thousands of goals that Swindon Town have scored, there are certain special ones, you know, like the Rodgers one at Wembley, and it's remembered. You know, it's great.
Unbelievable. Well, I'm just so appreciative that people even think about it, to be honest with you. I really, really am. And for me, it's like, okay, you know, I did something that made people happy. So it certainly made me happy on that day. I'll never forget it. I felt 10 foot tall. I felt like I came back and I got all my pictures signed by the players for that one day, and the following Monday or whenever we got back in training. I was like the Don, just for that little bit of time. And it was a great. I didn't roll around in it, but I loved it. I loved the feeling of it. So it was.
Well, beautiful. I think many people would have rolled around in it for ages, quite frankly. And why wouldn't you? Ashley says, enjoyed the Oldbourne days, Eddie. I'm sure.
Oh, Ashley, yeah, Oldbourne, yes, yeah. Of course I do, yeah. Crikey, wow.
Hi, Adrian. Do you remember Ben Worrell from Lambourne?
Yes, of course, Ben. Yeah, he was good footballer.
Yeah. So eventually you do leave the town. I know you play non-league football, but this goes back to one of the questions we've had. Have you been to Swindon games or any matches since you left football? Well, you've been to a few times, and we were talking about how they're doing now.
Yeah.
And you played against Ian Holloway in the FA Cup.
Yes, I played against Ian Holloway. Yeah, it was. I think it was when Glenn gave me my first kind of real sniff. We played in. It was the third round of the FA Cup. It was at QPR. We got thwacked. I came on, I think, the last 20-25 minutes, and I was supposed to mark Les Ferdinand, which I tried. I did try. Very difficult. It was very difficult. But Ian Holloway played that day in midfield. He was in midfield with Ray Wilkins. It was him, Ray Wilkins. God, I can't. Alan McDonald, Gary Penrice, I think. Peacock, I think, the centre back. Yeah, they were a talented QPR team, and they knocked the ball around really well. We played well, but they beat us. Ian Holloway was always aggressive in midfield, putting his foot in. Got a lot of respect for him, actually.
And what have you thought of the town? And I mean, all right, they lost on Saturday. It's not the end of the world. They're still third in the table. Go to Barnet tomorrow. They're in a good position, but we are, I guess, what you could call towards the run-in. What do you think of their chances?
I am so impressed with what Ian Holloway's done. And from where we were, I always keep an eye out for Swindon games. I always keep an eye on what they're doing. I don't go down regular at all. But where we were, I mean, we were looking at non-league football, and for a club like us to be looking at non-league football after where we've been, shows it can happen to anybody. And we were poor. I mean, really poor. I mean, with all respect to the managers before, they weren't getting it right with the players. And Ian Holloway, I mean, it's unbelievable what that man's done. He's come in to a club that's under, a lot of an owner that's under extreme amounts of pressure and, not thoroughly liked, I suppose, by fans. And arguably the best decision he's ever made, because what Ian Holloway's done in a short period of time. And I must admit, I do love the psychology of football and the psychology of and winning mentality and things like this. And I do remember watching his first video that they did of him turning up at the training ground, addressing all the players, speaking to the players, and how he spoke to them as adults, and how they responded, which this guy really wants us to be open and talk about things so that we can come together. You could see it. As a player, I watched it and I looked at what Ian Holloway did and I thought to myself, well, whatever he's done outside of football, he's come back and he's completely reconnected with himself, with what makes a human being tick. And he has got that group together and has created created an environment in record time under stupid amount of pressure. And to think that, look at where we are.
Yeah, amazing.
It's amazing. So, with all the pressure that comes with it, and with some of the stuff that he brings on himself, because, he's a man that's not afraid to say what he feels. He'll just say it as he sees it, which doesn't surprise me. He's always been that way. So I've got a lot of respect for him, and I think that he's done a fantastic job at Swindon. And I think that we just need to keep behind him and keep. Try and turn up and be and cheer for the team, because we're going to have setbacks. That's football. Nothing good ever came easy, ever.
No.
And they've been forged out of fire, to be honest with you. So I think they're going to be all right.
And promotions are a rarity at Swindon, aren't they? And I think what every Swindon fan wants is they want them to go up, and they want to stay in League One for at least, consolidate in League One and not this constant up and down like that. Pete Lango says hello.
Good evening, Shaggy.
Yeah.
My love, Shaggy, to you and your family. All my love, my friend.
Great youth player for the town, Pete Lango. Nice. Notice you say us, Eddie. Once a red, always a red, says Sean, which is great. And Peter Thomas Banting, just watch that goal on YouTube. Apparently, Kenny Dalglish was at that game.
Yes, yeah. Kenny Dalglish was at the game along with Joe Royal, I think it was. And I think Steve McMahon came on the bus and said something to me. He said, and it normally wasn't very nice, but he said something nice to me. It just clicked in my head. He mentioned Kenny Dalglish. He mentioned that he was there and saw it. But I can't remember any of the words, but I do remember him saying something. But yes,
wow.
Yeah.
Not a bad player to do that in front of, then, was it? That was pretty good.
It's absolute honour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Right, you mentioned an out-of-body experience. You were going to say something about that?
Crikey! No, yeah, no. It was. It just popped into my head. No, I just remember many years ago. We're playing for Swindon. We played against Wimbledon. Wimbledon in a youth team game. And it was in a January time, Vic. And I remember it very well. I remember who was the Gould? Bobby Gould?
Bobby Gould, yeah.
Yeah, Bobby Gould. It was a youth team game. I remember vividly. It was freezing cold, and we were lining up to kick off. And I remember Bobby Gould walking up with a long Umbro, one of these long Umbro coats they used to wear back in the day. And I thought, oh, God, he's turned up. That's interesting. And we kicked off, and I don't remember anything else until I remember waking up in the back of an ambulance, and the ambulance driver saying to me, "Oh, you're back with us then, kid." And they took me to hospital, and I basically swallowed my tongue.
Oh God.
in the game. Yeah, in the Swindon Town game, and it was the physio, the Wimbledon physio, that actually saved my life on that day and hooked my tongue out and what have you. But I had an out of body experience in that period of time where I literally went somewhere. I don't know where it
Wow.
was. Yeah, and I literally didn't want to go back to the light, and I came back to the light and woke up in the ambulance.
Well, we're glad you
So
did.
that was that from a long time ago.
Yeah, amazing. Recruitment then. More comments coming in, which is great. Top lad, Eddie, says Pete. That goal at Carlisle was top class. Brilliant. Yeah, what a youth setup that was. I always remember, what great players you had. Paul Hunt, you had Nicky Summerby, yourself, your boy, oh boy, Pete Lango, some fantastic players. So
Neil Quinn.
Yes.
Quinn, he was a hell of a footballer. He was.
So what about recruitment, and what are you at now, and how did you get into it?
Oh, how did I get into it? I fell into recruitment as everybody tends to do. But it was with when was it? Back in 2000. I walked into Pertemps and Pete Langer was working there. And he top man. He's real sound bloke. Got a lot of time for that guy. And I met with Pete, and it was Rob, and I got a job at Pertemps. I just ended up in recruitment with Pertemps. Worked alongside Pete, and Pete was a good footballer himself at Swindon Town. Proper Swindon lad, everybody knows him. He knows everyone, everybody knows him. And he looked after me and taught me the ropes of recruitment back in the early 2000s. And then he went off and set up his own company, and then I left and joined and worked with them until they sold their business. And then from there, I moved on and started to work in recruitment, talent acquisition, sort of moved out of high street recruitment, worked in sort of in-house roles and what have you. And working, in different companies and in working in employability, done a lot of work in employability, helping people get back into work after being, either signed on or whatever it may be. And I've continued to do that. So it's kind of one of the things that I do now, currently working for a really big company doing the same kind of stuff. It's my day-to-day job. It's what I do. Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. I'm glad you got a good career, because it sounded like a really good career. One thing I've spotted, Eddie, in the background, is that a David Squires cartoon in the background?
Oh, God, I have no idea. No, I probably don't know. This is my daughter's bedroom.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So there's albums and stuff behind there.
Okay, yeah. I was just David Squires is a big Town fan, does cartoons for the Guardian. So
no, I haven't got no.
No, fair enough.
No,
kind. I always remember McMahon on Sky Sports running our club's fans down. He said he had to drive around bus stops to get fans to the ground, something on that basis. Chris Kamara was also on there. He replied, well, it wasn't like that when I was there. Good old Cammy. I mean, there is some talk about why Swindon fans don't go now. I mean, there was 6,000 there against Newport last week. Top of the table, you would expect them to have 8,000, 9,000. But times is tough, I guess. Financially, times is tough, aren't they? So, why do you think that is?
I think that there's something for this is personally from just looking over the years. Swindon Town have never been great at marketing and connecting with the fans and with businesses and telling a story. They're not the greatest storytellers. I think they only got on LinkedIn not that long ago, few years ago. And I think that there is a generation of fans that need to be reconnected with, and fans that like myself, I played for Swindon Town. I've got a love for Swindon Town, right? I have. Simple as that. I support West Ham because I was born in Wanstead. My family on my dad's side, they're all West Ham, always have been. But Swindon Town and West Ham, Swindon Town, I played for the club. I represented the town, so I have a love for the town. There needs to be a real big connection with the community again, bringing the community back into the club, opening the doors, bringing different faiths in, different cultures, people from just bringing. You look at Wrexham and places where they've just reignited a town and developed that, that whole community feel. We were lucky. I mean, like I said to you, Vic, before, I grew up in Swindon in the 90s. This town, and anybody that's listening to this and is my age and grew up in that era, Swindon was amazing. It was amazing. You had nightclubs, you had amazing culture and social scene. The club was buzzing. The football, the club was connected somehow to the town. It felt like, we're Swindon town. We're Swindon. We do well. We win things. And I think that there's a whole fan base there that needs to be reconnected with. And I think that if that was me at Swindon Town, then I'd be doing a lot of work in, re-engaging with the local community, starting to bring the women's game to life. I mean, the women's team, they're winners.
Yeah, they are.
They're winners. Why don't we know anything about them? Why aren't we talking about them more? Why aren't they kind of starting to be connected with the team, the men's team, and then start to become more inclusive and bring, you're going to open it up to so many different people and a whole new range of fans, and then you can start talking about the past. As long as, if there's a clear future, if we've got a defined future, then we can talk about our past. Our past is what makes us, is the foundations for greatness, right?
Yeah, I think Ian Holloway's very keen on making it a community club once again, and the women's team are a bit, well, we've featured them on here many times, and they won 9-0 over the weekend of the Wiltshire Cup, and they've been flying in their league, so they've done a fantastic job. And the Community Foundation, I could go on all night about them. They're just magnificent people. So hopefully those things are beginning to happen.
Yeah.
Pete Lango's been back in touch. Stretch those thighs, Eddie. Remember that shout from John Gorman and John Collop saying, "Flats on, boys," meant we were running.
Yeah, I remember it very well. John did used to say that. Stretch they thighs.
Eddie, it's been an absolute treat. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been a real pleasure. And as I said, you've made a league debut for Swindon. You've played for Swindon. You've scored for Swindon. Boy, for many of us, that would be the ultimate. So, congratulations on that. And
thank you, Vic.
It's been a great pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Vic and Chris. I've really, really enjoyed it.
No, it's been absolutely fabulous. All those memories and everything, and it's we have actually tried to get. We are going to try and get all you youth team together again on one of
That'd
these.
be good.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, we spoke to Buzzer a couple of months ago, and we're just trying. So
all right,
we'll be back in touch.
that'd be really good.
Okay. So thanks so much, Eddie. Right, everybody, thank you very much for watching tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. Some of those memories coming back. Vic and I will be back next Monday. It'll be on the Monday night panel reviewing Barnet and Crewe. So we will be back then. See everybody if you're up at Barnet tomorrow. I believe there's over 1,000 going tomorrow night. So we'll see you up there if anybody's going, and have a good week. Take care. Bye-bye.